Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of rokrbox TV. My name is Josh Cunningham. I'm the founder and CEO here at rokrbox. And today I'm joined with our Vice President of Business Development, Sam Monreal. How's it going, Sam?
Hey guys, happy to be back.
And yes, it is good to be back. It's been a while since we've done one of these, but we've got a very special guest for you today, Mr. Lars Hedenborg. How's it going, Lars?
Going real well. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know who Lars is, first of all, how is life living under that rock? No, just joking. But Lars, why don't you give us a little quick bio, a little background in who you are and how successful you've been with on Boomtown for several years now, and why we be even interviewing you as an expert in the industry here.
All right. So for me, my journey in real estate started in 2007. Left a pretty cozy corporate job, multiple six-figure corporate job, in fact, to get into real estate. Everyone thought I was crazy. Looking back, I did it 3 months ahead of our shift, when our market shifted. And
so good time to get in, right? Not only did you leave your cushy corporate job, you jumped in right when the market was tanking.
Yeah, April 2007 is when I left my corporate job, and June 2007 is when our inventory naturally shifted, and then 2008 is when the financial crisis hit. And so I never really knew an easy deal. The first thing I did when I got to the business was buy our internet lead generation. And just got really good at just generating a lead, picking up the phone anytime between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. and calling it, and just getting really good at putting some carrot in front of leads to get them to meet with me. And that's all I did for 2.5 years. So that was kind of that first 2.5 years. 2008, 2009, into I guess I hired my first buyer agent. That grew old pretty quick, and I hired sort of an assistant in 2008. My first buyer agent in 2009, and then really kind of came up with this whole. Not that I invented it, but just knowing that I wasn't going to be in transactions for long, because that's not where my heart was. I just had the entrepreneurial spirit, and I wanted to build a business and not grind out transactions. So that's kind of the short version. This year we'll do 100 million. Not too much growth over last year. We've gone pretty deep on our core values and had a kind of a cleansing of the team. But we'll make more money this year than last year, a little bit. And we're looking to grow, looking to do thousands of transactions in our market. We're in a pretty big market, Charlotte, North Carolina. Got 2 kids, which is the motivation for not doing production. Got a wife I want to keep happy. I'm a man of God. So my faith is important to me, and that's kind of just trying to keep some sanity in a completely broken and jacked up industry is not easy.
Yeah, we hear you. That is one of the big reasons why people leverage rokrbox, in our experience, because, you described it early on in your career. Those internet leads are coming in all day, all night. I don't know if you know this, Lars, but the internet doesn't close. And so we never know when the leads are going to come in. And so it is a big responsibility to be that first point of contact and making sure that you're getting to those leads. One of the things that you brought up that I think is really interesting before we actually started the Hangout is kind of what the lead conversion world was like back when you very first got started several years ago, and what it's like today, in your opinion. One of the things you brought up is, when you very first started getting into the business of generating your own leads online, there was virtually no competition. And now it seems like everybody and their brother has a website to generate online leads. Like some people that aren't even in real estate generate real estate leads. So talk to us a little bit about that trend and what you've seen over the past couple of years.
Yeah. And so I remember back, I did it in reverse. Like in October 2008 is when I acquired the platform, and I didn't have a team. It was just me, and I got a lender to pay for half of it, and I just did Craigslist ads. So it's when Craigslist, you could actually generate good leads off of Craigslist, and just working the platform. And I would call back leads whenever, and the success rate was like actually good. People registered online, and they actually left good info. They were open to a conversation when you called. I mean, you still have to be sort of well scripted, but just over the years, I mean, the proliferation and just the explosion of, more than a dozen companies, probably 50 companies that provide some version of an IDX, that it became more and more of a grind. We're still profitable with it, but the amount of effort and labor and consistency, to do a 30 touch in 21 days it's not easy. Like it's become less and less of our core part of our business, but we still carry a good amount of listing inventory, and we get yard sign calls that we want to be able to have those conversations, which is 100% connect rate, and less focus on, kind of using rokrbox to make those leads, find the good leads in the back. And so it's when I looked at the conversion, the amount of effort we were putting into it, I was like, man, we just got to try something different. And that's where rokrbox came in. I mean, the niche that you guys have carved out, and I don't know if you do anything else except Boomtown prep platforms, but the niche that you've carved out is just, you virtually guarantee with a high level of accountability in your own team. You can see the room behind Josh there. You're going to get 30 touches, 10 emails, 10 texts, 10 calls in 21 days. And it's going to come from somebody who knows what they're doing. I forget.
We are kind of a one-trick pony. We only work Boomtown leads. So, the thing about only having one trick is you get really, 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 really good at that trick.
And it's funny. I remember, I forget why I went onto my own. I think I was testing my Boomtown seller suite or something. I registered, and it was like a second and a half later, I got a call. And of course, anytime that happens, I always mess with whoever's calling. I didn't go too long with the dude, but I said, that was a pretty good job, and you could tell he's a little nervous. And after I told him I was Lars, but you guys are on it. I mean, it's the real deal. It's not, none of it's hard. So it's not like you're doing anything that's monumentally difficult, but it's the consistency, and even in the coaching of the team. I mean, so you're, what's her name? Your operations gal?
Donna Parrish.
Yeah. So Donna gets on the phone and basically acts as, we have a sales manager, but she gets on the phone with our team and acts as our sales manager. And she's like, I'm going to take a lead away if you guys aren't going to follow up with it. I've got my team, warming these leads up for you. When we hand them off, we expect you guys. So it's like, holy cow. I thought we were the customer here and you're yelling at us. And I mean, it's done because you guys want performance. You want results in a very diluted, I mean, we're still working through the numbers in terms of what the opportunity is with rokrbox, but I promise you it's double or triple what we were able to do. And we're a high producing team. So the numbers are still coming in, but it's going to be multiples of what we were able to do on our own.
So Lars, sorry, real quick question, Josh, and I'll let you jump in. You mentioned that you're a high-producing team, and just to put some context around that, because I do think it's pretty exceptional, the level of productivity you actually get out of each of your agents. That $100 million that you're going to do this year, give us just a breakdown of your team structure. Like, how many people are actually delivering that level of production? Yeah,
so we run probably one of the more productive teams that I know. So we'll have, and we started the year with agents that shouldn't have been on our team, and that's why we're basically flat this year. But we've got agents, our buyer agents will do, 9 to 12 million in a market that's average price 240 or so. So they'll do, 40 units, 40 to 50 units. Our listing agents, that side of the business is pretty dialed. Our listing agents will do 24 to 27 million. We've got 2.5 listing agents. So we're able to do with 7 or 8 agents, 100 million. Most teams will do that with, 15 agents.
Wow.
Yeah, we're looking to hire 10 more agents right now. So it's not, I'm not saying it's in a good spot, but we're productive, even with a low agent count, because I just don't have patience for someone that can't produce at a high level when we've taken every obstacle out of their way.
Well, you guys heard it first. If you're in Charlotte and you're a Cracker Jack agent, Lars is hiring.
So, Lars, one of the sort of topics that we kind of are dancing around here a little bit is change, right? We talked about how things were different 9 years ago when you started your business and how things are different now, and how you're adaptive to change and open-minded to approaching things in a different manner than what you used to. And you also alluded to revisiting your core values. And we're a company that's huge on core values. In fact, just last night, we had one of our all-team masterminds, which we do every 3 weeks. And we open up these masterminds by giving everybody an opportunity to identify one of our core values and then acknowledge and recognize someone on the team who's been living by those values. So I love the concept of 9 years in the business, 100 million in production, but yet you're still adaptive to revisit some of these things and talk about what it's going to take to be successful, not just now, but in the future. So why don't you elaborate a little bit about, what inspired you to revisit your core values, and what were some things that you learned through that process?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me still?
Yep.
All right. I switched my microphone. So, I mean, man, if I could go back and talk to the 2007 version of Lars, it would be on this one thing. And I don't say that to be dramatic, but I wish I understood what core values really were. And I promise, even in like the real business world, because I don't think real estate has a lot of real businesses, but I don't think a lot of businesses truly understand core values and what they are and how to live and breathe your core values. It's what you hire, fire, reward, and coach to, and discipline to. And we do core value shout outs as well. And if you want to build a high producing team, you shouldn't copy anyone's core values, but our 5 core values, number 1 is that we hustle and work hard. Number 2 is that we embrace accountability and discipline. Number 3 is we have a positive attitude. Number 4 is we have a growth mindset. And number 5 is we create raving fans. So in all of that, there's a lot of baked in. But the first 3, every mistake I've made in a people mistake has been around the first 3. I've let people on the team that aren't going to hustle and work hard. They're not going to embrace accountability, discipline, and they bring the freaking hurricane of every deal whirling through the office at any chance they get, so they don't have a positive attitude. And just having that filter is just immensely powerful. I went through every real estate team copies other real estate teams' core values, and it's not truly who you are, And we use the best of our team to come up with our core values. So we went through a very deliberate process around that. Our leadership team said, okay, if we could clone these 4 agents or staff members, what's the best of them? What are the words to describe the best of them? And we're like hustle, hard work, like discipline, man, they got a great attitude, man, they want to learn, they're okay with change. They're, so it's been awesome. It's been painful this year. Just from a cleansing standpoint, but that's my biggest word of advice. I mean, all this technology stuff and lead conversion, I mean, it's all important, but the people, in terms of building a team, the people you let into your world it's just a monumental thing to get right the first time.
That's great. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, it really does always start with talent. We constantly say internally that our key competitive advantage is our ability to attract and retain top talent. I mean, if you start from that place, and again, really embodying the core values has been huge. One of the core values that you mentioned, Lars, that I think real estate teams really struggle a lot with is this accountability piece. So can you talk a little bit about what accountability looks like within your organization?
Yeah, and it is. I mean, if you just take the general population, and you really sort of go deep on that one thing, there's very few people that want to be accountable or have any discipline in any area of their life. So it's the biggest differentiator if we only let people on our team that understand accountability and discipline. It's the only way to be good at something. For us, it's a daily accounting of activities. So like, you're just not allowed on our team if you're not going to literally account for your time every day. And what'd you do with that time? Not because we want to micromanage you, but the only way you're going to be successful is if you can prove to yourself that you had 27 meaningful conversations today. If you can't get to 20 conversations a day, you're not worth anything. Like, you just have no value to us. You're not being productive. And so it's just a very deliberate conversation around it. It's not good or bad. Like, Sam, tell me, one of our core values is we embrace accountability and discipline. Give me an example outside of business where that's shown up for you? Like, have you ever run a marathon? Have you ever, and if they have no example of it, you just don't freaking embrace accountability and discipline. Like,
Yep. And one of the things we always say here is, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of people, when they hear the word accountability or discipline, they think of it in a negative tone. And you said most people think of it that way. You're not looking for most people. You're looking for the best of the best, the cream of the crop, the champions, right? And that's actually one of our core values is we possess the mindset of a champion. And the truth is champions yearn for accountability. Right? Because it's their only way to be acknowledged. It's their only way to be recognized, right? The MVP of a league has stats that follow with it. That's accountability, right? Yeah. And then I think another one of the points that you've hit huge on here that we find that there's a huge missing gap in the industry is accountability really doesn't exist if you don't have that second thing, the discipline, right? Because if you tell someone to do something and you set some expectations, then what is the results of what happens if they actually don't do it? So why don't you explain some of the disciplinary type activities that you're involved in to hold your people actually accountable?
Yeah, and it's twofold for our team. So we have we've got basically two inside salespeople on the buy side. We've got rokrbox, so you guys show up in our tracker as an inside salesperson, and we've got Ashlyn. So there's the reward side of it. So if you're doing what you need to do, and it's transparent, we have daily trackers and all of that. We have basically an achievement system for our agents that you're doing it or you're not doing it, and you're rewarded. So some people love the reward, and they take the leads and they're turning them and they're working them and they're getting more deals. And so it's this self-fulfilling sort of thing. And then if you're not doing it, it goes real quick. Like it doesn't last for long. So it's more of a negative. It's conversations. It's those tough conversations. And that's what's happened this year is that, we just don't have room for people on our team. We're hopeful that they could have been something, but they just weren't anything.
Right. And on the topic of rewards, I don't know if you heard the interruption here, but we actually have a gong right behind me that every time we identify an opportunity on our client's behalf, we come over here, we ring the gong, and there was a little disruptive cheering and celebrating in the background. But that's very, very key. It's very, very critical to those measurements of accountability is acknowledging the successes and celebrating the victories.
Yeah. And typically a team leader, we tend, there was a good book. I had a coach, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago. I had a coach that had me read a book called Parenting with Love and Logic. And at the time, I don't even know if Anders, my first born, was like 1 or 2. So the book didn't apply to me as a parent, although it's an amazing book and any parent, should read it. But she's like, read the book with an eye toward your agents as your children. And, you love them, but logically there are consequences to picking up your poop and throwing it at your brother. Like, you can't do it. You're going to get a timeout or you're going to get no food for 24 hours. So just having consequences in a written lead management policy and say, hey, here's the written lead management policy or the agent performance agreement or your position agreement. And we're going to review this twice a month. We're going to have a one-on-one and we're going to just review it. And you're either doing it or not doing it. And it's no big deal if you're not doing it. You just can't be on our team. And so it's just a love and logic kind of thing. We love you, but logically, if you're not playing by the core values, which are our rules, there's no room for you.
That's awesome. And I love that in that really the standard that you have in the organization, it's not what is written down on the piece of paper. It's what you will allow your weakest team member to do. That's really the standard that you have within the organization. Well, so Lars, fascinating stuff here. You built this amazing real estate team that does 100 million with it, that is all peopled with highly productive and successful agents. I think any agent on the buy side that's doing 40 plus transactions a year is obviously at the top of their game. So if folks wanted to learn more about your model, where would they go to learn more about you?
So I also help agents that are looking to build a business, and it's not for everyone. But it's realestatebschool.com. So the B stands for business. So it's business coaching for real estate agents, realestatebschool.com. And you'll know once you get in there if it's for you. Excellent.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today. And again, it's been really cool to be working from us, from our perspective. If Boomtown does the perfect job of attracting and capturing traffic, Rockerbox does a perfect job of identifying opportunities and scrubbing leads, we still need the highly successful and productive real estate team to take those opportunities and run with it. And so it's been cool to work with your team because, that's really how you see an operation crank at a high level. So any final thoughts you'd like to leave with our audience today as far as, things that you're seeing out there in the future, or just words of wisdom other than the a million pearls that you've dropped throughout this conversation? Any other words of wisdom you want to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I coach, top producing agents and team leaders, we tend to overcomplicate things. So as entrepreneurs, we're sort of entrepreneurs that picked real estate as our industry to conquer, and we try to complicate everything, and we're sort of spread, amongst a dozen things when it really only has to be 3 or 4 things that we do really well. I think for the way internet lead gen and conversion and that grind is going, we're making that transition now where is that the core thing that we do? So I think big picture, I think it's just looking at where you spend your time and energy as a business owner is the big question, and just track everything. Like, probably the most important tool that we have is a business tracker where I know everything we do, how much it costs our team to do anything, and what the return is, the cash on cash return after we pay our agents. And doing less is always better. I mean, I can get a team to a couple hundred sides on 4 things to spend money on. But I coach a small team that's doing 70 sides and they're spending money on a dozen things. And so it's cutting out the stuff that we know is not working and then just going deep and just not chasing squirrels. That's my end all be all, is go deep, not wide, and do not chase squirrels.
And it sounds also like you're going factual instead of emotional. So these feelings that people tend to have, you're actually diving deep, looking at the stats, looking at the figures, and then making a logical conclusion from that.
Yeah, and that's another thing. So we're so heavily marketed to in this industry, from anyone that wants to sell something, a lead gen platform or a new CRM or whatever. Most of it is complete bullshit. And if you're talking to anyone about real estate, to a single agent, a team leader, ask them like more than one question deep. So I had a conversation with a guy in San Diego that does 200 million, his team. And it didn't take me long to figure out that he only makes money on his own production. So the 175 million of his volume covers his expenses, and he makes money on his 25 million of his production.
Wow.
Can you imagine building a business that's completely backwards with no economic model or thought put toward it? So just think, have the path. I mean, just know where you're going before you set out. And that's the big benefit of Real Estate B-School. I feel like it's me telling everyone the 100 mistakes I've made so you don't have to make them.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's great. Old quote I always remember is, smart people learn from their mistakes. Smarter people learn from others' mistakes. So, but yeah, thanks again, Lars, so much for your time today. Really appreciate all your insight and feedback. Sam, thank you for joining as well today. And for our viewers, we appreciate your support. We appreciate your viewership, and look forward to many more future episodes of Rockerbox TV, where we'll be interviewing other industry thought leaders and sharing some of the successes that we're learning about the online lead generation game. Thanks again, Lars.
Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Bye. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.